Welcome to the Soul Health Mentor podcast with Nadia Kraus. Learn how to move your awareness out of your mind and into your heart so you can embody your divinity, experience joyous peace of mind, and create your most vibrant life by opening to receive your soul's sacred medicine.
Hello, beautiful soul. Hello, strong heart. Hello, brilliant listener. Welcome back to episode number 38. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a really meaningful topic that isn't talked about a lot. When we move our awareness out of our mind and into our heart, we're moving our awareness of our conditioned self into our heart space and our soul self. So today I would love to talk to you about what it means to allow old identities that have nothing to do with your next level expansion and growth, how to allow those old identities to die so that you can rebirth your sacred self in a version that is much truer to your heart. So today is all about soul power and the story of soul health. My book, The Magic of Transformation, Igniting and Manifesting Your Soul Desires, is a combo book composed of my memoir and self-reflective journaling questions at the end of each chapter to support the reader in connecting to their life story and their soul desires. And when you connect to your life story and your soul desires, it's out of your mind, the conditioned mind, the old identity. It's an out of your mind and into your heart process. And it really is a story, the book, my memoir. It's a story about befriending death, rebirth, and transformation. Igniting and manifesting soul desires to activate the magic of your transformation, and mine for that matter, doesn't just happen once in a lifetime. It's really much like eating a healthy meal in that regard. Just because you make and eat dinner once doesn't mean you're never going to make and eat dinner ever again. So it's all about eating or nourishing yourself throughout your life. It's absolutely the same with your soul desires. It's all about nurturing, nourishing, and supporting the dream that your soul has for you so that you can expand, grow, and flourish over and over and over again. Should you choose to want that for yourself? Should you choose not to settle for the norm? Because let's be real here. The norm, there's so many belief systems that is accepted and acceptable within the norm. One of those belief systems is, well, I'm getting old. And getting old means I'm going to be sickly and I'm going to start having pain in my body and I'm going to start gaining weight. And all that is a belief system. And it's a belief system and a conditioned way of being because it's, what we believe we become. It's one of those belief systems I cannot settle with. I can absolutely not settle with that. So I do not accept that wildly accepted norm. And it's the same with your heart's wishes and soul desires. I have not accepted, and this started at a really young age. I was not going to live a life where I am dying a little bit more every day because I'm doing a job and I'm doing work that doesn't inspire me, that doesn't empower me, that doesn't help me to grow and expand and flourish. So I've always had that innate drive to boldly go places I've never been before, to really honor my soul power and my soul health, which soul health in its best expression is literally you using your divine potential and making it manifest. So let's talk about this some more. Choosing yourself, your truest self, your soul self, over and over again takes mastery, absolutely. Specifically in the process of transformation, and it is not something that is wildly talked about. In transformation, you need to learn to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, specifically the death and rebirth cycle. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. I've talked about the 4 zones of growth and expansion in a previous podcast, but I'm just going to recap for a moment. So there's your comfort zone. And in your comfort zone, things are working for you. You're doing a job that you know what to do in, you're getting a paycheck. This is just an example. And everyday life is working. Maybe you've got an exercise routine going for you. Maybe you have a meal prep routine going for you. Everything is going well. And that's your accepted status quo and the norm. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as soon as you want to manifest something more, because maybe even though you love the job you do and pay is good and work hours are great, you are noticing how you're getting a little bit bored with the status quo, and maybe you just want something more exciting. So that little soul whisper right there is a hint that your soul self is ready to help you grow and expand and flourish your human self into something more. Why do we need to settle? More than enough. Why can't we have more than enough instead of just enough or never enough? Why do we have to settle for mediocre when we can have more than enough, when we can have abundance in every single area of our life? So as soon as you desire more, you start leaving your comfort zone in pursuit of the more. But what happens when you leave your comfort zone, you will enter into the fear zone. And because your human self doesn't yet know how it's going to manifest that more that the soul self is whispering about, it's really easy to kind of slip back into the comfort zone because that's the place we know how things work. And then there's this saying, I forget it now, the English saying, the devil we know. I forget how it goes. I'm sure you know. It's all about the comfort zone. It doesn't matter if we're unhappy in the comfort zone. It's safe and secure, and we actually know what's going on. So moving through the fear zone takes a really strong why and soul desire, because it is that strong why and soul desire that's going to pull you through the fear. And that fear zone is also very, very scary, because in that fear zone, while your soul desire why is pulling you through, an old identity dies. Something that you're no longer accepting of. I want more. So this old identity that is used to the status quo has to die. And with that old identity, you tell yourself stories about yourself that aren't really true. So that is the death cycle that enters into the rebirth cycle. And the rebirth cycle is all about the learning and expansion zones. In the learning and expansion zones, you learn to flourish yourself into the new version of you. Doesn't mean that it's super easy straight away. You're learning, you're awkward, it's messy. It's so much like the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. And did you actually know that a caterpillar turns to mush in the cocoon? literally dissolves, that old self-image dissolves, and then it's reborn into the butterfly that's the self-image. So that analogy of the butterfly is so spot on. And it's really not that you can't create and manifest your soul desires and all you require, desire, and deserve. Not at all. That's not the problem. The problem is that you're holding on for dear life to an old identity and life you have long outgrown. And this goes for me as well. Every single transformation that had to go through in my life to get to that soul desire and heart's wish coming true took me on that journey of death and rebirth and transformation. And it wasn't always pretty. It wasn't always super streamlined and linear. It was messy and it was spiral. And I sometimes and often had to revisit those places that are secret and hidden in our subconscious. We don't even realize why we're holding on to that old identity until we do the work of looking at those blind spots. And I too had to utilize spiritual healing techniques, spiritual transformation techniques. I too have hired mentors to help me see those blind spots, because we can't see those. That's why they're called blind spots. And you cannot change what you cannot see, and you cannot heal what you cannot feel. So, doing that work of the deep subconscious is really important. And that's why I love working in the Akashic records so much, because it can tell us the root cause of a story straight away. It's why it is a quantum jumping, quantum leaping, spiritual transformational tool. And it is my favorite. And of course, there are many. And there isn't a single tool better than the other. It's just a tool. And just like anything else in life, you will have your preference. So please remember that it is not that you can't create and manifest your soul desires. Not at all. That's not the problem. The problem really is that holding on to an old identity. So I've enjoyed talking to you about allowing old identities to die so you can rise from the ashes. It's literally, sometimes we have to burn those old identities down, literally, and allow ourselves to be reborn from the ashes. When we do this consciously, we can get through it really quickly. When we procrastinate this process, sometimes life does it for us. And then we are blindsided by things literally crumbling, our world crumbling, and us having to rebuild from the heart, us having to rebuild from the start. I have gone through these types of transformations as well. And now that I understand the process, I'll be honest with you, those are way more painful. It is literally easier to get comfortable with the uncomfortable by allowing a mentor or a tool. This podcast is a tool. My book is a tool. One-on-one work with me is zeroing in and really quantum jumping and quantum leaping. It's so much easier to use tools in whatever shape or form you feel ready for them. It's amazing to be transformed into the most beautiful version of yourself, and it doesn't have to be so painful. It is uncomfortable, I'm not going to lie, but it's so much more comfortable when you actually have a guide on the journey. So I'm so grateful that I got to talk to you about this today, and I wanted to announce that I'm going to spend some time in the next Soul Health Mentor podcast episodes to actually read my chapters of my book to you. And in between, I get to share whatever comes to heart. I am looking forward to also sharing the reflective journaling questions with you to give you an opportunity to really connect the energetic dots of your life story and your soul desires, those soul whispers. That's what I'm really looking forward to. If you've enjoyed this podcast episode, I also wanted to let you know that I've recently been a guest on the Alchemy for Authors podcast, where I shared my experience of writing a book with the intention of transformational writing. As I intended to write a transformational book for you, I had to go through my own transformation, which means I had to go through my own death and rebirth cycle. And I literally had to transform what was outdated in my life. And writing this book changed my life. It did. No joke. It was so much to me. So if you've enjoyed listening to today's topic, then I know you'll enjoy that episode as well. And you can check it out on the Alchemy for Authors podcast, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you like listening to your podcasts. And as a heart reminder, as a heart wisdom reminder today, I want you to remember that soul health is a work of heart, specifically your heart.
Thank you for listening to the Soul Health Mentor podcast with Nadia Kraus. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review at Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are playing.